My name is Brett Christianson. I worked for RRCA from 2017 to 2023. I'm not really sure how many sales I've done. I did a total of 12 million in sales in about 4.5 years. The rest of the time was just the jobs coming through. I was trying to just get my jobs done while I was starting with a new company, and they ended up not liking that, and they sent me a cease and desist. And so basically they're sitting on roughly $200,000 in commissions. Over the years, there's been a lot of issues with reps not getting paid. I was never one of them. I was their top guy for many years, and even when I wasn't, I was, always one or two. So they treated me really well. I, in this industry, we try to stay away from draw, but I never trusted them, so I had a consistent rolling draw with them. Made it easier for them to pay me rather than come out with the big checks. When they started screwing with my draw, when I still had a couple million in production, I got real nervous, and then I decided I wasn't going to do the new storm with them. In my opinion, it's excessive overhead. I believe 8 offices in Florida alone. Excessive advertisement that's not working. I think Lee flying around to all the new storms in private jets, everything's got to be elaborate. I just think it's total mismanagement of money. The biggest thing I have there is a couple of jobs that still are not done. I turned in late in 22 for production. Most of my jobs went through the legal process. So I turned them in, and we ordered the tile, and they're so in debt to the supplier that a couple months later, the supplier ended up canceling the order. And by the time they found out, that tile was discontinued. And so then I had to go back to the homeowners and say, yeah, I don't know what happened. We have to pick a new tile. So they did. They were awfully pissed. And here we are in July, several months later, they're still not built. I hear over 5 million to ABC, somewhere around 3 million to Beacon. The homeowners get upset. They always seem to go with it. They understand delays in materials. I feel bad for them in the case of bankruptcy because, like I said, all of my jobs towards the end were legal files, and they're paid in full. So getting their money back, I don't believe is going to happen. Well, they're taking the checks from the lawyers. The lawyers send the checks directly to them more often than not. Sometimes the homeowner's name's on them. They won't sign the checks back to the homeowners because then the homeowners have the right to take it somewhere else, and that has happened. So then they came up with a new policy of they're not doing that, and then they're using that money to fund whatever's mess they're in. I always got paid. I was the top producer. As long as you're always turning stuff in, it's profitable, he's going to take care of you because you're consistent. As soon as you're not consistent, as soon as you have something going on in your personal life, or if you leave, he feels the need to just totally cut you off. I've talked to him many times about the whole third, sell, build, collect. And if somebody leaves, maybe just break it down like real companies do, and he always works out some kind of a really small deal with the salespeople if they're lucky. Otherwise, he just cuts them off. He goes through a lot of office personnel. He takes in a lot of office personnel that know nothing. That's another big issue, and that was a big red flag. He started a customer care team, and most of them know nothing about anything in the industry, and they're literally calling homeowners for payments when we haven't even started the job yet. Like, hey, your next payment's due or your final payment's due, because they don't know anything they're doing, and they're always under the gun for collections to bring as much money in as possible. The crews that I dealt with the majority of the time were pretty good. They were the same crews for most of the 5 years. But at the end, they were getting real frustrated. They had, with the material situation, the supplier situation, they had to actually go to the suppliers and buy the material themselves because that's the only way they could work. Just that he's got to stop doing this. He's totally got to stop doing this to people. When I met Lee in 2017, he came here to work the storm that hit Blaine, and that's when I met him. And like so many other people, I was trying to hook up with him because I was following him on the internet. And I was about to go to Colorado, then this storm hit, and I texted him. I said, nope, not going to happen this year. He says, oh, I'm on my way. So he hooked me up with somebody that he did a set with. And I met him, and one of the guys working with him asked him about Sky Diamonds. He says, what's your, how much you making on Sky Diamonds? He says, I made $1 million last year. And he goes, selling air, and just makes a joke out of it. So everything to him is a joke. He doesn't care if he's screwing anybody over. I was involved in buying a company out in Colorado and was having problems bringing in sales reps. So I went to Lee. He's got a knack for recruiting people. For the most part, they're not good quality people, but it's still bodies. Asked him for some help, and he says, nope, not unless you buy Sky Diamonds, and then they'll think that I'm a part of your company. So he sold it to us for 15 grand and did nothing he promised. So I think Sky Diamonds is a farce and a complete waste of money. Now he charges, I hear, $60,000, and he thinks it's worth every penny.